This brother, he can make paint drying sound like bonfire night.
I've watched paint dry to study. How can I make this dynamic and enthusiastic? So I give my all.
Mate, honestly, you're an absolute inspiration. Like, you really do. When I've watched you do like face-offs and stuff, literally, I think like it's crazy how you really enhance the shows, man. You really enhance the shows. You make you make average fighters sound like heroes, superheroes, and it's an unbelievable knack that you have. It's absolutely brilliant. Listen, welcome to the Gunman Insta Live. We're live on YouTube. We are live on Instagram. For those that do not know this brother, you need to know this brother. He's an exciting host and presenter of Misfits Boxing, performing lyrical armed robbery on a daily basis. Like I said, he can make he can make paint drying sound like like Diwali fireworks. This is Ben the Bane Davis, my people. Welcome on, big man.
Hey, thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you having me.
Where are you now, and globally, geographically?
So I'm back in Phoenix, baby. It's home base is Arizona for me. State 48. Temperature-wise, throughout the year, it gets a little hot. That's what we're known for in the desert. But right now, it's a crisp 78 degrees. I love it.
Listen, you've got. I like to do my intros pretty cool. Could you do us an intro off the bat? Here I am, Gunman Live. Here I am, Ben the Bane Davis. We're going head to head. We've got the Gunman who's 5'0" against. Can you do us one?
All right. Let's see. Where are you from?
I'm from London.
From London. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our main event of the evening. Fighting out of the blue corner, he stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, hailing from the great country of London, the one, the only, Gunman.
Yeah. That's absolutely brilliant. That's brilliant. I had to have that. I had to have you do that. I had to have you do that.
You know what's funny, dude? I was when we were in Qatar in the hotel lobby. Again, I'm not a ring announcer. It's not my trade.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful skill. Hus Rajeep, our guy at X Series, crushes it all the time. But like kids in the lobby that were there, they came up and they were like, "Can you give us an introduction?" And so like for 20 minutes, I was standing there doing just that at like 9 p.m. it was so funny, dude. Oh yeah, London's a city. It's not a country. Oh fuck.
Yeah. I was thinking that.
Yeah. Well, hey, the dumb American messed it up. That's.
Yeah, you guys aren't known for your geography.
Yeah, unfortunately.
What's the secret to enhancing shows for you? Is it the way you speak, or is it knowledge or research? What is it for you that makes you so good at what you do?
I think for me, what's become an X factor and a skill that I've sharpened, the edge that I try and bring, is a deep interest in making every moment count. I don't want to waste a single second of an 8-hour broadcast because, from my standpoint, if you're a viewer, your attention is infinitely valuable to me, and I need to make sure that every second's electrifying, every second's engaging. Now, obviously, through the course of a show, if we've got a 10-fight card, I'm not going to go all in, guns blazing, first prelim of the night. I'm going to give myself time to evolve and grow into the show and have the energy scale up accordingly. But I think that the interest level I have in making every moment as engaging as it can be is something that some other guys don't at this level. There's people that might cash it in sometimes or think that there's throwaway fights. There's fights that don't matter. These ones aren't important. I'll only tune in for this one or that one. Every single fight to me is very valuable because of the brass tacks of it. You've got two guys that have trained their asses off for however many weeks. They're making the walk and they're going to try and kill each other. And so because of the sacrifices that they're about to make, it warrants, it justifies, it needs a level of energy and passion from me, and that goes from first prelim all the way up to the main event. So I don't know. To answer the question, I'm going to give you a lot of rambles on this, Gunman. To answer it in a long way, I think the X factor is just trying to really emphasize and hit that nail from the beginning of the show to the end.
Do you have times where you're just not feeling up for it, but you can just snap into gear?
All the time. There's a lot of shows where I'll wake up and I'm just going, man, this isn't feeling fantastic. My voice. I mean, if you listen back to X Series 19, that was a very challenging show for me because we had a sponsorship shoot the morning of, and we were going down the world's largest water slide, which, listen, I know I'm young, but I shouldn't be that stupid to try and go down these water slides and then hop into a pay-per-view, broadcast.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so there was it was great. It was a fun time. Me, Danny Aaron's, AT, and my boy BL, we had a great time. But the problem was I burned out the vocal cords a little bit. And so the entirety of the X Series 19 show, I was really struggling. And I didn't have my honey bottle. I didn't have access to as much tea as I maybe would have wanted or needed. And so that was tough. I'm not gonna lie, Qatar was a hard show, and I think it was very, you could hear it.
the tough life out in Qatar, right?
Yeah. Was pronouncing it? Some people said Qatar, some people were pronouncing it Qatar. I'm just like, I'm gonna roll with what I think and have that be that.
Yeah. Listen, I saw a clip where you sort of, tried to endear the crowd, and there was just nothing back. I can't remember what it was. You said, "Look, are you guys excited?" And it was just like empty, like you could hear a tumbleweed going through it.
Yeah,
I've noticed about that a couple of times, Ben, as well, haven't you? Like when you're waiting for an applause, and it just doesn't come. You're like.
It happens so frequently, like especially the press conferences. Yeah. That's why I will literally like here's the thing. On fight night, I'll let the crowd get away with it. I'll let the audience get away with it. No worries. Especially that instance, I think my microphone wasn't being fed to the house, so it wasn't going through the speakers into the crowd. Yeah. So you could see me standing in the ring, maybe gesturing, maybe saying something, but nobody in the crowd could hear it. So I'm like, I'll let that one slide. But the press conferences, man, if I give my spiel and I'm like X Series 20, Darren Till, Tommy Fury, it goes down January 18th, Co-op Arena, Manchester. You gotta be there, and then it's silent. I'll sit there. I'll sit there.
I was there. I was there.
You're gonna give me the applause.
Yeah, I will next time. I will next time for absolute sure. Listen, people, fire your questions in. I see a few questions coming in. Fire some questions in. I will read some of the best ones out to Mr. Ben the Bane Davis. We've got a lot to get through. What was? Let's just talk about Qatar. Let's just talk about it. Fight of the night for you.
Fight of the night. Great question. Hard to look at anything other than Nick Lamau and Warren Spencer. I think that both of those guys had the most engaging back and forth where there was momentum swings, there were extreme back and forths, and it was a war. Nick is so good defensively. And I think the key, and I told this to him after the fight, the key to victory for him that he didn't unblock enough was pressure. Whenever he was putting it on Warren Spencer, he was having so much more success. But more times than not, he'd opt to be on the back foot, give Warren the real estate, try and counter, right, when Warren's coming in. Yes, that works against you, but I just love the ebb and flow of that one. And so I got to give that the fight of the night for X Series 19.
Yeah. All right, and let's put you on the spot then. Was the Salt Papi knockout of King Kenny, was it a clean shot or was it a dirty elbow?
Oh, come on, man. That's clean as a Kleenex, Gunman. It wasn't an elbow at all. You can zoom it in, you can slow it down, and you can see that it was just a beautiful left hook, little shovel uppercut type move. And as much as I love King Kenny, that's as clean as it gets. And hey, credit to my man Kenny. He tried his hard out to make that count, even using his neck to get off the ropes. I mean, shit, that kid wanted to be in there. That kid wanted to fight.
He did.
But that ultimately was just a perfect shot from Salt Papi.
So clean shot, no arguments.
No arguments. I can understand there was one angle where it did look a little bit suspect or interesting if you watch it in normal speed, but you slow it down and you just recognize, no, I mean there's no way there's an elbow. I mean, listen, JJ and Fournier, maybe that was an elbow, but this one, no elbow at all. No elbow at all.
I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Listen, who's your favorite Misfits fighter?
I have to side with my broadcast brethren, Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor. I think AT has clicked into a different gear this year. When you look at it, he has fought the who's who of this organization, and at times they fed him to the wolves, right? That first fight with Idris Virgo. They didn't want him to succeed against the body breaker, the body snatcher, and he didn't. But since then, he's been the most loyal company man you can ask for. And what solidified his top spot to me is literally just a couple months ago. They rip away the KSI fight. Hey, the biggest opportunity of your life dissolved. Instead, we want you to fight this battle-tested karate combat Swedish samurai in Samuel Eriksson, and that's your reward. That's what you get. Instead of the KSI fight, you're going to get this unknown commodity that is coming to steal your throne. I mean, come on. Any other person, Gunman, would be like, fuck this. But what does AT do? Nah, he says, fuck it. I'm going to go in there, beats the fuck out of him. And then, what does he do next? 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, defends in Dublin against Gabe Silva, who is a very deeply talented guy. I loved what he did in August, man. And it's so hard to not have love for AT. Is he crazy? Absolutely. Does he say the most outlandish things? 100%. But like, the kid has turned a new leaf, and he's coming for skulls in 2025.
Listen, I like his line. I want to nick it. You can't spell goat without AT.
Without AT, it's too good. It's too good.
I wish I'd thought of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like, what words could you spell with Ben that are cool? I don't even know. You know, I don't have that wordplay.
I've been searching. I've got to find my own one. That's just too good. That is just too clean. So AT's your favourite.
Yeah.
Listen, how do you feel about seeing pro boxers coming into Misfits? Because let's be honest, AT should be fighting as a pro, really. You know, and you're seeing Idris Virgo. He's a pro, really. You know. How does that sit with you when you're seeing pro fighters, and there's loads now trying to get on Misfits because of the pay?
Yeah.
How does that sit with you, or do you think it still just needs to, there needs to be a line drawn?
I've got a couple thoughts on it. And Guided Max, great comment. Yes, I know exactly how good Gabe is firsthand. But it's a wonderful question. We're introducing the Misfits Pro Boxing division, and we're literally standing at shoulder to shoulder with the influencer side of things. Yeah. And I think that could stir up some people. I think there's one crowd, one school of thought that goes, well, we're losing our identity. This was crossover boxing. This was influencer boxing. We're now losing our identity by introducing these pros. That's one school of thought. Another school of thought is we're legitimizing, right? We are adding credibility to the product by getting a very decorated amateur like Amir Anderson and being his home for his professional career, or at least, good chunks, beginning parts of it. So I think that both sides have some value in their opinions. My personal one lands somewhere in the middle. I think that, we as an organization are about building people. And if we can build pros better than other people, fuck it, let's do it. And I think we are. I think that financially it's way better for pros to be on Misfits. You're going to get some tougher tests than you would in your, normal professional boxer building period. You're going to get some harder tests on Misfits. Mans Taylor and the Sauerland brothers, Wasserman, they're not going to give you easy. They're not going to give you the hardest guys right out the gate, right? But I think if we can do pro building better than other people, why not? But I do hear people when they say we're losing the identity a little bit, and I can understand that perspective.
It's refreshing to see someone like Vidal Riley, though, who's really an influencer. But I mean, he could box. He had a decorated amateur career. But it's great to see him trying to go and win world titles when really he could stay in Misfits and mash everyone up. Let's be honest. He could just pepper people like a sirloin steak, on the regular. But instead, he's actually trying to, go for greater tests. And when I spoke with him, he said, "Oh, I'll leave that for Idris." He said, "I'm going to go get a world title." That's what he said. So it's interesting the other side.
But Dowd's he's eclipsing and he's ascending, and like that's what you can see from some of these guys. But I think the other perspective on influencer and crossover boxing, what I always say is it's a bubble. You know, we're in a bubble, and the moment we try and like bust out of it, the bubble's broken for everybody. We can't lie to ourselves and pretend that we are going to be or the fighters that are on the Misfits roster are going to be world title challengers, WBC belt holders, right? I mean, Dean the Great's an exceptionally gifted influencer and crossover boxer. I think if you put him up against those top lightweights in the world, he would struggle. And there would be some levels, right, that you might run into. And that's just the reality of it. So we need to stay in the bubble a little bit. But I'm all well and good if we're wanting to showcase and build professional boxers. But I do think that there needs to be an understanding that it's like an 80-20, and the primary focus is showcasing this great ecosystem and bubble that we've built and giving influencers and crossover talent the opportunity to compete in a safe, regulated, fun manner that's entertaining for everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. Listen, I'm a boxing purist.
Yeah.
I've been watching boxing since I was like 5 years old. I go to all the big fights. I've been to Hay, Klitschko, Froch Kessler. I've seen Triple G versus Kell Brook, AJ Usyk. You know, I went to Yard B2B. I usually go to all the top fights. And I've only started really getting into Misfits since I started doing journalism, since I started going into boxing. So my channel, Gunman Boxing, has been running a year now. And you can't ignore Misfits. I thought, oh, well, what's this? And I started going to the press conferences. But I never, as a purist fan, used to, get up in the night to catch a Misfits card like I would if Mayweather was fighting or Iron Mike was fighting. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I've seen what, like, it's fun, it's entertaining, but a lot of the purists hate it. And the reason why they hate it is because they think, oh, there's this guy, he's a video editor, he's earning more than a proper boxer. And if you took a Gervonta Davis, he'd wipe the whole card in one night by himself. So it doesn't sit right with people. They get really annoyed by it. Whereas me, I actually think influencer boxing is great. More people are watching it. More people are doing it and participating at all levels. I think it's great for the game. Can you sympathise with people that go, look, this 2v1 tag match, that's not boxing. What a crock of shite. Can you sympathise with the purists, or do you think they just need to grow up and get used to it?
I think they need to grow up a little bit. I think they need to understand that there is absolutely room for everybody in boxing. And when you think about it, boxing hasn't seen innovation in so many years. It has been the same established product. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. I love traditional boxing, right? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But that doesn't mean that when there's an organization that does want to try and do things a bit differently and present things in a different manner, reinvent the wheel, that doesn't mean that that's bad inherently. Again, it's safe, it's regulated, we're doing it with the right people and the right teams. And, spaghetti is being thrown at the wall. We see what sticks and we see what doesn't. I was actually a huge fan of the tag team boxing concept. I think it was a really great additional layer on boxing. And, people suggest that what we do is much more similar to like WWE than, real fighting. Right. And I can understand that. I can grasp the theatrics and, the fun and the gimmicky side of things. But the reality is these kids still train and bust their asses in fight camps and then go in there and throw leather with the intention to knock somebody out. Like that is far more real than what you'll see in a scripted WWE show where the bumps and all that damage they take is certainly real, but like intentionality is very different, right? So I don't know. I think the purists and people that hate on crossover boxing for those reasons definitely need to broaden their perspectives a bit, because again, we're not trying to like be this pro boxing copycat product. In fact, we are very different, but I think the similarities that tie us together should be a little bit more respected and acknowledged from those purists, instead of suggesting, oh, Gervonta could go crush everybody. Hey, John Jones could beat the fuck out of every regional MMA show. Does that mean they shouldn't exist? Not at all. I can go get my buddy Mike Perry, and he'll tune up anybody. But does that mean that those shows should be dissolved? Not at all. So I don't know. I think it's an understanding that we have our product that is very entertainment focused and presents things in a new way, and there's room for everybody.
Yeah, I guess what it is you can't get rid of Sunday League football because people aren't good enough to play in the Premiership.
Yeah.
But the Sunday League footballers are earning more money than the Premiership players, and I think that's what bothers people.
But let's not influencer boxing's problem, respectfully. Like, that's not Mams Taylor's problem or Misfits' problem. What we do and what we provide financially for these guys is amazing. And if traditional purists have a problem with what our pay structure is for these guys, then you should be shouting at Eddie Hearn and the Frank Warrens and all that, right? Pay your fighters more. Like, isn't this what we want? Is better fighter pay? Well, that's what we're offering, you know. And then you're shitting on us for it. That doesn't make any sense to me. So if people, you know,
I mean, listen, I go into an amateur gym and I see some incredible fighters, Ben, like really good fighters. And they're moaning about, this influence boxing means I haven't got chances. But these same people are sitting on their ass, not doing anything, not fighting. And I've always said this about boxers. They need to take a leaf out of some of the influencers' book. You know, post-training footage, do showboating, get knockouts, trash talk. All those ingredients equal better fighter pay. If you're good at all those things in pro boxing, you can knock people out, you can talk good, you can look good, you can back up what you say. And you can, post, showboat. I mean, Ben Whitaker's made, 3 million followers. He's bringing entertainment. Who's more likely to get to box office and get the big fights? Him, because he's showboating and trash talking, or just Mr. ABC fighter, who is not getting off his ass and making it work for him. So, I don't think you can really complain as a purist if you're not bringing the X Factor yourself, because these guys are bringing the X Factor. And that's how you're getting on Misfits. Usually, you've got to have something about you, haven't you?
Yeah, you have to have a brand and a following and people that will tune in. I think that what we prioritize over at X Series far more than the traditional boxing is who's getting eyes, who's going to bring attention to the product. Pro boxing doesn't really care about the followings that people have until they get to a certain level, right? Until you're in that mandatory challenger conversation or have a belt, then it becomes
it's ticket sales. It's ticket sales, if we're honest. So if you're a pro, you're starting off in a pro. If I sell 500 tickets, I'm getting on shows, and you're going to get me the fights I need. You know what I mean?
Well, 100%. Well, and that's why the formula works well for X Series, because you can just look at it and go, okay, kid's got 500,000 followers. Odds are he'll sell the same amount of tickets, if not many more. You know what I mean? And then I think the digital engagement is also the part of it, right? You see these viral clips go off every single fight week for X Series, and the clips from Fight Night. I would say, like, if you compare the output on Fight Night from that Qatar show in terms of traction and digital footprint from X Series 19, you compare it to Edwards and Yafai. I mean, I would say, outperformed online and social metrics significantly more. So I don't know. It's an interesting, nuanced conversation where I think everybody's right, but then everybody's wrong at the same time.
Well, there is no right or wrong, but it's really subjective. But my view is, as a purist, as I said, I would say I'm a boxing purist first and foremost, who's later now covering Misfits. So I actually see influencer boxing is good for the game. I think if more people are participating at all levels. So you're seeing guys that not being bad, guys that they're not fighters, but they're now in the gym boxing. They're not fighters, but they're learning the sport. And more people are watching it. So I can't see what's bad. I also think what Jake Paul's doing, I think it's great for the sport. Yeah. I think it's great, I mean, I didn't like seeing Tyson getting battered up like that. But I think overall, he's bringing eyeballs. He's making entertainment. What did you think about the Tyson fight against Jake Paul?
I want to start by echoing one of the things you said, which is he's bringing new people to boxing. Jake Paul's done a tremendous job of championing this younger generation into training and getting into the gyms. What he's done in Puerto Rico is tremendous. You know, I've got a lot of criticisms of Jake Paul, but like you said, what he's been doing for boxing, I can't criticize that at all. Full flowers, full praise. Now the Mike Tyson fight, what a fucking abomination that was. Jeez, that sucked on every conceivable level, especially when it was postponed due to Mike's very real medical emergency, and they decided to still go through with it. Gunman, this is how I look at that situation. In June, when it was postponed, that was God intervening, saying we shouldn't do this. And what did man do? Man decided, no, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to just rebook it. No! The burning bush, Moses! Listen to the burning bush! But he did not. And, you know, so I don't know. It was a terrible main event, which sucked because the fights before it were truly fantastic. Obviously, Toronto Taylor was going to deliver, and it did. The Barrios fight was terrific. You know, I think you had a display of that crossover nature with Whindersson Nunes and Niraj Goyal, which wasn't the most fabulous fight in the world, but it was a sprinkle of, hey, this is the core, the integrity, the identity of this MVP promotion is crossover natured. So I liked what it showed. I just hated that the main event was the main event.
Yeah, absolutely. It was horrible to see Tyson getting battered up like that. And I knew like 30 years ago he was like getting beaten up by Kevin McBride, so I knew he wasn't going to be any better. And people were saying that it was scripted and all that. It's nonsense. He just wasn't good enough, and it was a mismatch. He was too old. He was too slow, and he couldn't do anything. He just couldn't do anything about it. You know, he wasn't scripted. He couldn't have won if he tried, I don't think.
No, I mean, he came out with 2 knee braces. When the fuck have you seen an athlete come out with not 1, but 2 knee braces? Like, that's ridiculous. And for Jake, I'm like, dude, okay, here's my unpopular opinion on the fight. If I'm Jake Paul, I would have gone in there, bulldozed Mike Tyson, and knocked him out in round 1. That's what I would have done. Why? Ben, why would you do something like that to an icon? Why would you do something so terrible? Because I'm the villain. Because I'm the heel. That's the whole role that Jake Paul plays. I mean, shit, he's got a number of dumb, shitty tattoos that suggest as much, right? So you have to go in there and play the role. And for Jake, I think that you missed this big opportunity because the boxing world hates you already. And they're going to hate you for putting this together. You might as well put an exclamation point, little cherry on top, and leave Tyson face down on the canvas. I mean, come on, we're wasting our time here. This is what you had was a semi-hard spar that was forgettable at best. But instead, we could have had this iconic photo of you leaving Mike Tyson, cheeked up Mike Tyson, face down on the canvas. And I think that would have been better for business. That would have been better for business.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your fighting. So I've seen you literally. You're not just an exceptional host and presenter. I've seen you in the middle of like some barnstormers, hands either side, people attacking over your shoulder, and you're sometimes the calmest man in the building. I don't know why. And then I looked into you a bit more. I was like, oh, he can handle himself. And a lot of people don't know about your fighting. So you started in last year, is that right? Your first fight?
So if we were going to trace it back, I'd say May 2023, I did this jiu-jitsu appearance on CFFC's platform, Fury Pro Grappling. That was on UFC Fight Pass. It was 5 days notice. I was coming back from an event. They were like, hey, would you want to grapple our president? And I was like, sure, that sounds like a fun time. What a cool opportunity. Flew out there to Philadelphia and listen, the intention was to have fun, right? That's honestly my driving motivator for a lot of these dumb things I do is because I think it could be entertaining. And I thought we all understood that. Gunman, I thought we all understood what was going on, except the president. President went in there. Dude, he snapped my ankle in 13 seconds. I was in a boot for 6 weeks. I was like, that sucked. I was like, why the fuck did you do that, Brad? Like, why couldn't you just lay on me for 8 minutes? You snapped in 13 seconds. You left me disabled. Thanks, man. So that's where it started. And then, you know, obviously everything has come since then, but that's where it began.
So how many fights have you had since then?
So May 2020, 23 had that BJJ thing. Then September 23rd of 2023, I have the Gabe Silva fight, which was a nice launching pad. That was my introduction to X Series and Misfits. And obviously, the reason I took that fight wasn't because I believed truly that I could beat Anderson Silva's son. I mean, with 3 weeks of boxing experience, I'm not that delusional. But what I wanted was, the networking and ability to make an impression on the decision makers at DAZN, Misfits, and Wasserman to get the job that I have now. So did that in September. I took some time off. I had a lot of opportunities come up. And then June of this year, I make my return, Karate Combat. Finally get my first win, Gunman. I beat up this little midget. It was great. And then I braved the bare knuckle waters in
Yeah.
October. So 5 days before
the little midget you're talking about is the one that he pulled out of the show on Misfits, right?
Yes, he pulled out of the Nashville event in March because he had an anxiety attack. Which those things happen. I get that, but don't sign the dotted line.
Isn't that just straight fighting nerves in fighting man's lingo?
Is it what nerves?
It's just like, isn't that just anxiety? Isn't that just a fighting man's nerves? If you go backstage of a boxing event, the whole atmosphere is nervy and tense, and everyone's anxious, I know.
It's a fight, and what I don't understand is you're entirely correct. Everybody's nervous. That's human. That's human nature. But it's a tag team. Like, you have a partner. If you and me were fighting one guy, and we were a little nervous backstage, I would look at you and I'd be like, "Listen, man, I'm feeling a little nervous, but you got me. I got you. Let's go out here and do this." That's the whole fucking point of a tag team.
Yeah. So, Is that your feelings on all of that? Because I understand you called Most Wanted a midget. I take it there's not much love lost between you two.
Oh no, not publicly. I mean, that kid's a little idiot publicly. Privately, we're fine. I like the kid; he's a good dude. But publicly, fuck him. No, I'll say it for this one. I didn't have any nerves fighting him in Karate Combat. I recognized that this was my showcase. This is the guy that I had cherry picked, and we had the same amount of time to train. I had about 3.5 weeks, and I had a broken thumb for that Karate Combat fight, which was pretty interesting. So I couldn't do any work with my left hand, couldn't jab, couldn't work my left hooks at all, which sucked. And that's why I just kept spamming the body kick at him, because I was like, I couldn't do anything with my left hand, but he's southpaw.
You got your first win, though, which was good.
It was great to get my hand raised. It meant a lot. I think some people have made fun of me because I, right when I get my hand raised, I have like a brief moment of that emotion hitting me. I didn't think it would be as emotional as it was, but when you're kind of used to losing, winning for the first time is it does mean a lot. So even if the opponent sucked, I still am glad that I won.
That's the opponent sucked.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, no. I mean, listen. I come back to the anxiety with fighting. Listen. I respect any man who gets in there and stuff, but that is part of it. And I don't know. Matt, I've had 11 fights myself, and I used to be sick nervous. Like I can think of a couple of fights where I've had to go out and have a walk around the stadium because I was just sitting backstage, like feeling sick with nerves. And it's just part of it, unfortunately, and it's just how you handle them. And John Jones is great at saying, like, it's about how you challenge it. That's how you make yourself free, isn't it? You embrace the nerves and all the rest of it. So who was your next fight? Was your next fight after that then? After Most Wanted on the karate stuff?
The next fight, it was BKFC. So I wasn't really actively searching out opportunities to compete after June. I had an interest in getting back in there, but I was too focused on other areas of my career and life to, search these things out. Then Oscar Willis calls me and is like, "Hey, do you want to have a BKFC fight against me in October in Spain?" And I was like, it took me about 5 seconds to go, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea."
You madman.
With how it played out, maybe I should have considered it a bit more carefully. But yeah, so I got that call in, I believe, August, mid-August, and then trained all of September. I had about 2 weeks of my fight camp that were interrupted, where I was on the road. I had an X Series show in Newcastle on September 14th, and then October 6th, literally 6 days before the fight, I was calling a APFC show in Indiana. My boy Michael Hansen right there is our ring announcer. For APFC, can't wait to see him this week. But yeah, so like I was busy during fight week, or excuse me, fight camp, which sucked. But camp was great. I felt so good. And rolling into Spain, I was just like, all right, I know that the odds are stacked against me. And I know that the organization wants him to win, obviously. But I was very confident. And then it literally could not have gone worse. The fight could not have gone. I mean, maybe like me getting flatlined and snoozing on the canvas would have been the only way in which it could have gone worse. But like, yeah, getting knocked down 4 times sucked.
Was it knocked down 4 times? Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably a silly question, but I take it hits real different bare knuckle, right?
Oh yeah, dude. I thought I was so prepared because we did hard sparring, 7-ounce gloves. I'd taken some really clean shots in our hard spars, and we did 7 or 8 days, I think, of 3-minute rounds, hard spars. So I was just like, dude, I felt comfortable eating damage. I had faith in my chin because nobody had knocked me down in training camp. And like when I did the Gabe Silva camp, which again wasn't that great, like I got knocked down a couple times by people to the body. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not as tough or durable as I'd like to be. But like in this BKFC camp, I was like, dude, my conditioning feels super on point. Nobody's been able to knock me down. I figured that I was sparring with better opposition than what Oscar was going to be. I had so much faith in my team. And then, go in there and I think
It can happen.
It can't happen. He had a great game plan. I think his game plan of getting into the pocket, punishing me on the inside, and not letting up from the beginning of the first round. I thought that was a great game plan. Completely neutralized me. I didn't have an answer for it. And so I kept getting back up, in the fourth knockdown, right? I eat this beautiful, he comes in with this nice 2-1 and that stiff jab, boom, there goes the mouthpiece. That's a way. And I'm on the ground and I'm just like, fuck. I get up and I'm here and I'm making eye contact with the referee. He says, walk. And I walk over. I look back at him and there's 3 seconds left in round number 1. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe if I could just extend to the second round, get a minute, get some water in me, I'll be able to get back into this thing. But before we start those 3 seconds, I walked. I'm all good. I'm looking at the ref and I'm trying to indicate that my mouthpiece is gone. Because remember, stiff jab, mouthpiece gone. So I'm trying to say, listen, dude, I'm like, this is dumb enough. I don't want to do it without my mouthpiece. And so I'm trying to indicate, and he's just like, we're done. And I was like, no, all right, let's man. So that was the tail of the end of my KFC fight, which like if I was on the booth for that one, I would have been like merciful stoppage, kid's too tough for his own good. And what a win for Oscar.
That's an absolutely brilliant story. That's a brilliant, mate. But you're a winner for getting in there. Don't you ever forget that, because that is serious, man. So many boxers won't even consider bare knuckle. Couple of last questions for you before you bounce. Before I let you go, I'm conscious of your time and I really appreciate you coming on. HS Tikky Tokky.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, well, I think KSI is saying he's going to be the next poster man of Misfits. True or false?
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to guys like Mams and JJ, they are pushing his stock to the moon. But I have to remind people that he's only competed against fucking George Fensum, who I like George. He was very nice during fight week, but George is not at all a fighter. There's no bones in his body. I think there's 210 bones in a person's body. George has 0 fighting bones, right? So I think for HS Tikky Tokky, on January 18th when he comes up against Wade Plem, Wade's a cat he played football for 17 years, played at a collegiate level, super in shape. I mean, Wade is built like a fucking truck. And now he's got the tutelage of BJ Flores, who's obviously BJ's really decorated. He's been training for 5 weeks already. He's got another 6 or 7 until fight night. So like Wade's going to be putting in a great disciplined camp. HS Tikky Tokky, if you're not taking this seriously, you're going to lose this fight, because it's going to come down to who's taking it more seriously, who's more disciplined, because they're both great athletes. HS is, listen, HS, 21-year-old kid, very strong, very fast, but I just have
He's an aggressive guy as well.
Aggressive guy. guy. But like what we see sometimes is fighters when they have that, that really lightning quick finish, they get too confident in that. And so when they can't replicate those early stoppages and you get into rounds 2 and 3 and you go, oh shit, maybe I didn't do my conditioning or I didn't do my road work enough. That's when you start to fall apart. A guy like Wade Plem is doing his road work. I can promise you that. So we'll see.
Yeah. So do you think HS is the future, or do you think it's a hype train?
I think it's too early to tell. Truthfully, I think if he gets through Wade Plem in impressive fashion, all aboard, choo choo, let's fucking ride it to the moon. But if he, if he looks terrible against Wade Plem, then I think there are a lot of question marks, and you can sort of go, okay, well, you beat a guy in George Fensom that had no business being in the arena, let alone the ring, and then come up short against Wade. I will have to see. I think there's only one way to find out, and that's tuning in on January 18th.
Absolutely. Okay, Tommy Fury or Darren Till?
I have so much love for Darren Till's eagerness to get in here and test himself as a competitor. This is a really, really difficult challenge. The consensus king of crossover combat is Tommy Fury. Wins over Jake Paul, wins over KSI, 10-0 undefeated boxer. The Fury blood flows through his veins. So for Darren Till in his second boxing fight, we can say first because that first one he had was a complete sham. So we'll say first boxing match for Darren Till against Tommy Fury. I don't know, man. I think that he can pose problems. I mean, you look at strength of schedule. Dude, Till's fought the current middleweight champion of the UFC, made it to the 3rd round against him. Robert Whittaker, Kelvin Gastelum, Derek Brunson, fought Tyron Woodley for a title, right? Like he's got a great caliber of competition. Has he won that much recently? No, not at all. But like he is still testing himself against the top guys in the world. Now, when you transfer that to the ring, we'll see what happens. I feel confident in picking Tommy Fury, but listen, a serious Darren Till could cause problems.
Little Cray Cray or Dean the Great?
I got to go Dean the Great. I think Dean the Great is so slick, and while he might struggle a little with the southpaw stance of Cray Cray, I think that he's just one of the top boxers that we have in Misfits in the crossover scene. Dean might struggle a little bit in the first 2 rounds, I think, but I think he's going to gradually take over, and I think it's going to look very similar to the Dave Fogarty fight that he had in Dublin.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Do you want to see Most Wanted back on Misfits?
I would want to see him back on Misfits, and the only person I'd want to see him against is me, so I can beat him up again. The only opponent I'd want him. We'll do a mystery opponent. Most Wanted, we'll do a mystery opponent. You walk out there, and then boom, my music hits, and I get to beat the shit out of you for another couple rounds.
Lastly, I want to know your pound for pound top 3. Your Misfits pound for pound top 3.
So I'm going to go Anthony Taylor at the top. I'm going to go Gibb second, and I'm going to go Dean the Great third. In terms of men's top 3, I'll go Gibb second. He was impressive. He looked impressive in Qatar. I have to give him that respect.
To move him into number 2 ahead of Dean.
I think so.
Great.
I think so, because when you look at the caliber of competition, right? Gibb outclassed a 7-0 middleweight champion with 5 knockouts. Dean the Great, in his most recent fight, fought a guy who was making his boxing debut, right? Full respect to Dave and his MMA experience, but that was the first time that he had a sanctioned boxing match, and it was a good test for Dean. He had a lot of adversity in that. Gibb, I love Slim a ton, but Gibb outworked him, outclassed him, out-hustled him. And to me, that was a significantly more impressive performance to capture that throne.
Yeah, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on for a chat. It's fantastic talking to you. I could talk boxing with you for another couple of hours. And listen, I absolutely love what you do because, I've started my channel about a year ago. I host shows as well. I do commentary as well. And I interview fighters of all levels. So I interview like someone having their first white collar fight. I've had Bernard Hopkins on here, so I do all levels. And but yeah, I love watching good presentation, and I love, I spotted one of your face-offs. I was like, who is this guy? Brilliant. Love the way you do it. I love the way you do it. And you really do enhance the Misfits experience for the fight fans. So even though you don't realise it, you know, you really make it entertaining for all of us. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, big man, and thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, bless up. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.